The manual bilge pump has now failed.
And there's already some nasty crap coming out of here.
Well, I knew my bilge would fill up with water after washing the boat, so I just pump it out with the manual bilge pump. The manual bilge pump has now failed. All that water leaked through that hatch and down into the bilge, which I was going to pump out with the manual bilge pump. Of course, the manual bilge pump, the little rubber gasket failed, which not surprised, it's an old, super old pump. But where it's installed is super inconvenient and difficult to get to, and fixing it and putting it back in would take some time. And of course, the bilge from all the washing yesterday is, about half full of water, and it's supposed to rain this week. And I think just to make things easier, I actually want to drill a hole through the keel as low down the bilge as I possibly can find, so that way water will just drain out immediately, and that hole can later be patched with fiberglass and epoxy. So the bilge comes all the way down somewhere deep inside this hole. I gotta take a few measurements. I think it just makes the most sense to drill a hole in the keel that can be patched later, and that'll allow any water that comes inside the boat to just drain out immediately rather than filling up the bilge and over the course of the wintertime freezing and causing any more cracking and stuff. The water level in here is going down now. Just for old time's sake. See if I can figure out how much further I need to go to get to the actual bottom here. Okay, so success. And there's already some nasty crap coming out of here. There's a sponge coming out of here. I got a hole in the boat that I can rely on to get water out. And now when the big rainstorms come, I don't have to be so nervous about the boat filling up with water again. I really wanted to take advantage of the nice day and get the old name off the boat. This would go a long way to really start to make the boat feel like my own rather than somebody else's old boat. It was pretty easy to do. Just grab the heat gun, use that to soften up the old decal, and then a paint scraper made pretty easy work of peeling the decal off. As the decals came off, you could really start to get an idea of what the original color of the boat was and what it would have looked like if the paint wasn't so oxidized from sitting out in the sun. Okay, so I think I accidentally hit the time-lapse feature on the GoPro, but basically I was going through and showing the broken bilge pump, where it was located, and how difficult it would be to try and get to and service should it fail while you were at sea. So here I'm just finishing removing the bilge pump, going through it bit by bit to see if anything else is wrong with it, as well as removing the rest of the associated hoses to make room and keep on working on the aft section of the boat.
Alright, so right here, you have to excuse me holding the light. So I just removed this bulkhead, or cut a section out of this bulkhead. So remember where I'm sitting right here where this light is shining, this was all the ice box. So there was no way to get back here from inside the boat other than trying to climb through the engine hatch, or the main engine hatch in the cockpit, which drops down there. But to get around to the other side of this lazarette is essentially impossible. And right here, this is the starboard cockpit lazarette, which essentially doesn't go anywhere. It just opens up into the cockpit, which from a blue water standpoint, if you were to take a wave over the back of the boat and for some reason your cockpit lockers were all open, all that water would then not come into the bilge of the boat and swamp you. It would just go into the drains, into these drains, and then out of the boat. But what you lose is access to all the storage, albeit limited because it's a double ender, but all the storage that's back here. You can see the plastic screw hatch, which does give you some access, but it's really not much more than being able to peek your head back there and maybe slip a couple things in. There's no way to put like fenders or extra line. I mean, you can see that storage goes all the way up to the top there, and it's just completely unutilized. So I've got some thinking to do about how to try to make use of this space. Now on the other side, you can see where the light is shining. Back here, all that fiberglass there is the diesel tank. So it has an integral diesel tank that goes from the hole all the way to there, which looks to be fairly large. I don't know how much it holds, and the previous owner wasn't using it, so I have no idea what the condition is. And from what I can tell, there may be, if we squeeze around back behind it, there might be a way to get to a hatch and look inside, but there's no way to tell, at least right now, what the condition of that tank is. So the plan for right now is to try and remove as much of the old hoses and gunk and wires and crap from here to give myself better access to the rear of the boat. So this piece of metal right here is the coupling for the prop shaft to then couple to the transmission, which is here. So this whole thing was at least a third of the size bigger just from the swollen, corroded iron. And I just knocked it with a hammer a little bit, and then it just fell into pieces. It's completely seized together, and I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to get this apart. I already used an angle grinder to cut the heads off the bolts to see if that would help make any progress. That didn't really seem to do much. I might have to try and angle grind the nuts off the bolts back here and see if that can help me smash this apart. And of course, that begs the question as to how corroded is, the whole coupling that comes from the transmission. What goes into replacing that if I need to, which, I mean, based on the condition, it probably would make sense to do that. So that's just another variable that I've got to deal with when it comes to this motor. Until then, I'm going to continue to just clear out the rest of the crap out of here that I can to give myself better access to the motor, so I can continue working on it. So removing this bulkhead has given me access to the rat's nest of wiring that every old boat seems to have. If you watch any other YouTube boat of somebody doing a refit, on an old boat. It's just a jumbled maze of wires that are connected, aren't connected. Like this whole group right here is just cut, not connected to anything. Got the 12-volt panel here, another 12-volt panel. There's a battery monitor across the way, and then the shore power 112. Not going to disconnect anything yet. I'm going to figure out which wires go to which part of the panel that is labeled, and hopefully it's accurate, but I can then mark with tape the wires that are connected and what they're supposed to go to, which would hopefully make things easier. Here's a one final update for today. I was able to rip out a lot of old hoses, some old wiring. I took out the old batteries. I was able to wash down the aft section of the boat really well with soap and water. It really makes a huge difference having that hole in the bilge where I can just hose the inside of the boat out and not worry about the bilge filling up. Still some gunk and stuff down there. I'll have to fish out some heavier items. But that really does it for the interior for today.